Good Tuesday morning, Quad Cities. It is 9 o'clock on the dot. I am meteorologist Andrew Stutzky here in the Storm Track 8 Weather Impact Weather Center, where we're going to be tracking eventually some storms as we go into this afternoon and this evening. We have a weather impact alert in place for that time frame. So welcome in to our live severe storm discussion. You're finding this right now likely on the A+ app. And if you're not and you're on our Facebook page, don't forget to, if you have a smart TV, you can download our A+ app and watch this right on your television along with some other amazing exclusive content. Stream it 24/7 right there. Welcome in. We're going to chat a little bit more in depth about our storm potential for this afternoon and this evening, some of the ingredients, the dynamics involved. We'll answer any questions that you may have as well. We'll spend about the next 15 minutes or so here chatting about this event coming in. Also, weather anchor Peter Warner is going to be joining us momentarily too as we break down the threats. So let's get started here. And what we'll do is we'll put a reminder too where you can send your questions. If you're on the Facebook live stream, you can send them in the comments section. If you're watching us on the A+ app, you can text 309-304-0888. That number right there at the bottom of your screen. Our awesome folks on our digital team, they will take care of forwarding those questions to us here and we'll get those answered. And a reminder, I think the most common question we get during these streams, when are the storms going to arrive in my hometown? If you can let us know where you live, we'll be able to get you that information because Facebook doesn't allow us to poke and pry into your profile, as it should be, to see where your location is. So let us know in the comments section a specific location you're talking about and we'll answer that as best we can. All right, let's get started. Here's our weather impact alert details. This is going to be in place for later this evening into the overnight hours. Right now we have it starting at 4 o'clock, but there's some new data suggesting we may need to bump that up perhaps an hour or two. I'd like to see some more model data to support that because right now I'm only seeing one model run that suggests that. So we'll keep a watch on it. Our main concern today is going to be the wind potential. No, this is not going to be a derecho, and no, we're not talking about winds in excess of 80 miles an hour. We are looking at winds between 60 and 70 miles per hour and also some hail potential. There is too, depending on how these storms kind of line themselves up, there is an isolated quick spin up tornado potential as we go into later this afternoon and the evening too. So what is the need? The best way to be prepared? Well, A, it's what you're doing right now. You're tuning into our severe storm discussion. But another good thing you can do is make sure you have the Storm Track 8 app downloaded and ready to go with push alerts and notifications enabled and turned on. And also, if severe weather should impact the region, don't forget we'll be streaming on air and right here on the A+ app. So what's the setup today? Strong cold front coming in from the west. You know, we had the heat yesterday. Today, it's all about the humidity and a touch of heat. We're not going to be heading into the 90s and upper 80s like we did yesterday. Today, it's going to be upper 70s and perhaps some locations that manage to get some sunshine reaching the lower 80s. And that potential is likely going to be realized for areas along and south of the Quad Cities, along that Interstate 80 corridor. So we kind of talked about this yesterday, how I thought, you know, the ingredients a little bit better down here. And wouldn't you know it, this morning, it looks like, yeah, we're definitely going to be seeing some of that more robust, stronger storm development right here. As we go into this afternoon and the evening. So where you're in the 2 here, this would be Aledo, Galesburg, also into Macomb and Burlington. We'll zoom in a little bit more here, let some more hometowns pop up on the map here for the 2 out of 5. Mount Pleasant, Burlington, Keithsburg, Aledo, Monmouth, Macomb, Galesburg, Knoxville, all the way down to Fort Madison. And Quincy, Illinois even, that's where the 2 out of 5 exists. So scattered severe storms there. The rest of us, just isolated severe storms as we go into this afternoon and the evening. The tornado threat, let's break this down threat by threat. There you see tornadoes, only a 1 out of 5, so not a huge threat. But we can't rule out a quick little spin up here as we go into the late afternoon and evening. It's the wind damage that we're a little bit more concerned with. That's a little higher on the scale at a 2 out of 5, especially if you're south of the Quad Cities. Hail is also at a 1 out of 5 too. So to put this in complete summary here, this is what it looks like. 1 out of 5 for tornadoes today, 2 out of 5 for wind damage with gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and then a 1 out of 5 for large hail. Perhaps as large as golf balls, but I think even quarter size is kind of pushing it today, especially given how warm and how much moisture is currently sitting into the atmosphere. We've been talking about the dew point all morning long. It's been well into the 60s, and there's a good chance that dew point is going to reach closer to 70 degrees this afternoon. That's ample moisture to get severe storms going. We've also got some of the warmth too. Look at the temperature sitting at 75, and there's plenty more time for that temperature to rise a little bit more. What's happening right now? Well, on the radar, we have a cluster of thunderstorms here sitting in east central Iowa, just about ready to move into Iowa City. There's nothing severe with this, and I don't expect any of that to become severe, but it will clip some areas north of the Quad Cities, especially into Maquoketa and eventually into Savannah, and then moving its way into Dubuque and Galena. If you want to know the timing of that, we'll put the tracker on here for you, and I think it's still going to be after 10 o'clock or so before we get that into Clinton and eventually Jackson County. We're talking about crossing the Mississippi River, likely during the 11 o'clock newscast. I think that timing looks good, and then it'll head over to the Illinois side of the river. Now, the one question as we kind of look at things here, the setup, you notice the line at times has been trying to kind of fill itself in. Right now it's broken, but there is definitely some lift on going right through here. So at any point in time, we could kind of extend this activity a little further southeast and lift that northward. That would enter the Quad Cities right around 10:30 to 11 o'clock this morning, if we can get that to fill in. Further to the southwest, there's another line of rain and embedded rumbles of thunder that's working up from northeast Missouri. That activity for most of the morning has really kind of been on the struggle bus. And that's another wild card in our forecast, because look at what's happening in that general area. We're getting some of this clearing that's working in, but behind that we have a ton of rain sitting into Kansas City, Missouri. All of that has to work its way up here. So in order for us to really see our severe storm threat increase more, we need to start getting rid of some of this rain that's currently moving into northwest Missouri. If that can thin itself out a little bit more, get some clouds to break, that would increase our threat for some severe storms as we go into this afternoon and into this evening. So I'm going to throw a few future track on here, and then we're going to bring in Peter Warner. He's joining us too this morning. We're getting a new run of this every hour for our high resolution version, and then we get a new run every 4 hours for the longer range one. The new run this morning that we just got in during GMQC at 8 o'clock here on the 8 Plus app had a very much different solution compared to any other solution we've looked at this morning. So I'm going to take you through that run here first and show you what that looks like. I do agree, yes, we're going to have some of those rain and embedded thunderstorms coming up from the southwest here, arriving, like I said, by 11 o'clock. Some of that will hang on into the early afternoon, but the newer runs here are really going gangbusters on some new, potentially severe potential thunderstorms right about 3:30. And again, I want to say this is the first time this morning we've seen this, so I'm not 100% sold on this solution whatsoever. This would be much earlier than anticipated, followed by that secondary line coming in after 5 o'clock or so. The new run also had another kind of intense line coming in later this evening and then weakening a little bit more as it moves through. So I am not 100% sold on this solution. Oh, Peter Warner, you're next to me here. You're shaking your head. Nope, I'm not sold on it either. I think that this is just a little bit too much overblown, probably banking on a little bit more clearing taking shape than what we're actually going to see. And the other thing to keep in mind too, these models, probably especially our in-house and a few others, are not taking the smoke into consideration with this.
No, and a lot of models I don't think are going to pick up on that in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something to take into account too. And just based on what we're seeing right now, we want to see the clearing, right? That's what we keep on talking about. Mm-hmm. We don't get really any breaks in sunshine there. And this is on that same model run.
Yeah.
And central Iowa, you're not getting the break. Southeast Iowa, not really getting a break until maybe right there. But look, it's seeing rainfall still. Just in that northern portion of Missouri, kind of, right? You're still seeing rainfall there. So it's a little bit interesting why all of a sudden, again, this is one model run, but why it caught us off guard, because we're like, there's not enough clearing for two kind of almost rounds of strong storms.
It's not making a whole lot of sense.
No.
So I'm going to take us back to the solution we showed earlier this morning. I think it's a little bit more better in line with what's going to happen. I think the timing was a little bit more spot on in terms of what was going to happen. And let's see if we can go back to that. And I'm going to peel off a couple of layers. So again, you know, the advantage of you joining us here on this stream is we get to do a lot of this stuff on the fly. And we can do a lot of messing around with some of the different model variables and show you some of these different things that have come into play here. So again, that is a solution that I just am not buying quite yet here. I just don't see that. And notice too, look at the coverage of rain it's got right there in Missouri, how there really isn't a lot being picked up right now, but I just showed you on radar, this whole area is full of rain. So I think that's where this stronger solution is coming in, and it breaks out some sunshine there. That just is not enough storm energy to get this line going at 2:30 this afternoon.
No.
I don't see that.
And if we go back all the way to that 9 o'clock time frame, look at what you're seeing just to the east of Kansas City and to its north. Nothing.
Nothing. But we know that's not the case.
We know that's not the case.
Yeah.
That's kind of one thing when we evaluate these models we really look into is, does it actually have the correct placement from the start of the area of low pressure, of the cold front? Because if it doesn't, you can kind of tell off the bat that might be a little bit off, per se.
Yeah. This is the previous run. I just put us back to that. This is a lot more realistic.
Very spot on.
In terms of what's going on right now. Now, it is overdoing a little bit of the thunderstorm activity just to our west. But the idea is that there is something there right now, and that is the case. I just showed you that on radar. So let's go to this run, which again, I think is a much better run to use based on what's happening right now. Let's go ahead and zoom us back in here to the immediate Quad Cities region. I am liking this solution because this would have everything on track, including these rain showers early in the afternoon, lots of clouds, unless you're south of Interstate 80, where we get a little break or two with some sunshine, and then this comes in later this evening after 4 o'clock.
Yes. That's the timing we've had that's been consistent through the last couple of days until this latest run too as well.
Yeah, I'm liking this a lot better.
Me too.
So we're going to toss away the newer model run that just came in because again, we're not seeing consistency with that. We're not seeing it match up with what the reality is right now. And that's okay. You know, that's the joy of being a meteorologist is
Exactly.
you can't just rely on just the computer. That's why we're here. You need someone with experience and interpretation knowledge to be able to tell you, no, that run is garbage. That's not going to work out. This is the more likely scenario as we get into the afternoon and the evening. I think, the other thing in terms of potential that we'll see from this impact-wise is heavy rain. You were looking at some of the moisture levels. They're high.
Yeah, like 1.5 to 2 inches, I believe, in watts.
Yes, and when we talk about PWatt, what that stands is for precipitable water. And that is if you were to take a storm and it were to sit in one spot and just rain itself out, that's how much rain you would get with that storm.
Yeah, and I was seeing, I'm helping out with our sister station in Des Moines right now. And this morning, they obviously saw those storms that are trying to creep towards us. They were seeing rainfall rates within some of these little cells that are developing almost 2.5 inches per hour.
Very heavy rainfall.
So heavy rainfall across the board can be expected for sure.
Yeah. So, regardless, even if we didn't have the severe weather threat today, even if it was just rain and thunderstorms moving through, this would still require a weather impact alert because we're talking about this heavy rain, blinding rain at times coming through right during the evening commute.
Yes.
Huge impact. And we see what happens with heavy rain. We've got folks hydroplaning on the I-74 bridge because we're not slowing down. We've got street flooding in parts of Davenport where we have that poor drainage. So you're likely going to see some of that as we head into the evening commute, even if we don't get the severe weather.
Yep, exactly. That's something we're definitely keeping an eye on. And again, kind of the beauty of me helping out with Des Moines right now is I can see what's going to, kind of potential. We saw about 5-6 accidents over there this morning in Des Moines just from the rainfall alone. And that wasn't even the heavy portion like we're going to be seeing tonight.
Yeah. We're going to get even heavier rainfall, it appears, at times, too. So, yeah, that's what I love about I know it can be an inconvenience at times, but, yeah, it's nice having you looking at areas west of us because you're going to get it before we do.
Yes.
And now you know exactly what could potentially happen here, which is kind of nice. So that's our scenario that we've got going right now. Again, we're going to throw out the new model run that just came in. I'm really liking this one. I'm liking how accurate it's depicting the here and now, because if you're not accurately reflecting what's going on right now, you can't count on anything to go on beyond this to be any speck or little shade of accuracy to come along with it. So this is a good run. I like it. Again,
It's actually almost extremely accurate to what we're seeing right now.
it is, yeah. It's got that area of storms, and then it's got the rain behind it coming in here into south central Iowa. And, you know, the fact that that hangs around much of the afternoon, that's why there's no 2 north of the Quad Cities. You have that thicker cloud cover and that shower activity in the afternoon.
There's that clearing.
But then there's a little notch of clearing here, a little spread here, and then you get some of those storms that'll take advantage of that come later this evening to come rolling on through. So I'm liking that. If you're curious about the timing, let's step through this really slowly so you can see when it is most likely going to arrive in your neck of the woods. Our impact alert is from 4 to 11, so that means areas south and west of the Quad Cities, guess what? You're closer to the start of that. You're at the 4 o'clock arrival time. So that would be our Mount Pleasant, our Burlington folks, Washington, west of Muscatine. That would be between roughly 4 and 6 o'clock. Here in the Quad Cities, I think it's closer to 5 to 7 o'clock this evening. And then as you go east of the Mississippi River, say to Geneseo, Princeton, that's like a 6 to 8 o'clock time frame that's coming in, including Galesburg on that too. If you live north of the Quad Cities, Clinton, Sterling Rock Falls, Maquoketa, Tipton, Monticello, up through Bellevue, Savannah, Milledgeville, Galena, Dubuque, I don't think we're going to see too much exciting going on up that way. That's going to be more of a rain and embedded thunderstorm event with some heavy downpours, perhaps some isolated flash flooding. The severe weather threat is mainly going to stay to your south today, and it'll be a wind threat. But yeah, there's your timing. And yeah, a couple waves of these, and they just keep coming. This front's going to kind of slow itself down as it gets here, and there's these waves of moisture and energy working along it. So when the rain starts this evening, it's going to continue for quite a while. If you're curious on the rainfall potential, this is not throwing in the new model run, by the way, because again, we think that's garbage right now.
Just a little bit.
It tried to put 6 to 8 inches of rain in Burlington. I don't think so. No. We're not going to see anything.
Historic rainfall.
Yeah, we're not doing that. No. Again, that's because it's going gangbusters with like 3 lines of storms. Don't think that's going to happen. No. This, I think, is more realistic. We're talking about areas that get under a thunderstorm. You're easily going to see an inch. If you get under a couple of thunderstorms, I think 2 to 3 inches is a good bet too. There's going to be a few 3-inch reports mixed into this.
Probably. Yeah. Those heavy pockets of rainfall that just will appear. You know that within these storms.
Yeah, they definitely tend to pop up. Lastly, before we get to your questions, I've had people asking me about the smoke. When is it going to leave? When are we going to get a break? Air quality, it continues to slowly improve this morning. We saw that yesterday. We're in the moderate category, which means unless you have a really, really severe breathing condition or you have a severe case of asthma, it's likely not going to impact you. We are expecting the smoke to thin out a little bit by tomorrow. Notice as we put the future track smoke into motion here, some of that finally moving off to the southeast by tomorrow evening, but it will still linger around, at least in some form, likely for the remainder of this week. It's just not going to be as intense as what we've seen the last few days.
I appreciate that.
It's hard to clear this stuff out. Once you get in the smoke, it can last months.
I know.
So this is something we're going to have to deal with for quite a while, unfortunately, I think. But again, it can really wreak havoc on not just temperatures, but also the potential for severe weather. So it is something we're going to have to consider when we do this kind of forecasting here. 18 minutes past the top of the hour, and I think we can go ahead and take some questions. See if anybody's got anything for us this morning.
Yeah. Amber was wondering, should she... The real question is, should she water her garden in Galesburg?
No.
No.
Wouldn't even bother because everybody's getting rain.
Yes.
This is not going to be a case where I didn't get 1 drop of rain. I'm not going to see that comment tomorrow morning because everybody's going to get rain. So
everyone will.
Don't bother. I'm not doing it.
I wouldn't. I need to get a plant. That reminds me. I need to get something for my patio.
Yeah.
Clearance. Wesley said, Peter. Did I walk through the screen there? That's what I was guessing.
Maybe you did.
I don't know.
I didn't see it.
Because I didn't know if we were full screen when I walked through. That's what I logged in. I was like,
that's okay.
Sorry about that if I did.
That's all right.
Let's see. Nothing in Monmouth. Thanks for the update. Let's see. Going through. There's a lot of comments that we don't need to touch upon, but thank you for everyone for the support.
Goodness.
Thanks for the support from all the people for that. Let's see. Have they sent up weather balloons yet?
No, they definitely are not going to do it this early in the morning. If they're going to send up an additional weather balloon today, it's likely going to be either 1 or 2 o'clock-ish.
Yes.
Sometimes as late as 3. It really depends. I wouldn't be surprised if they did one, but as of right now, there is no plan to, at least from what we're hearing from the folks at the NWS.
Yes. And with this setup, as of right now, it's
kind of iffy. You know, we're not talking about a huge, you know, strong tornadoes, very large hails, 80-mile-an-hour winds. It's a very conditional threat, what we call that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not going to be widespread.
No, not gangbusters. Yeah. That's very important.
That's for sure.
No, today, unless that model somehow comes through. Which we're throwing in the garbage. We're throwing it in the garbage. For now.
For now. We'll see what James has at 2:30 this afternoon.
Tyler was wondering, when should the heaviest of the rain affect areas from Iowa City to Davenport?
So you're going to get those first. We're talking about the heavy rain with those storms likely starting between about 4 and 6, and then it will slowly meander its way eastward. I would say by late tonight, probably by midnight, the heaviest rain is over for that area. Right. Then it's all going to be concentrated on the Illinois side of the Mississippi River.
Okay.
Great question, though.
Yeah, it is. Now, how about our friends out in Crystal Lake? That's a little bit further out near Rockford, but we got a Crystal Lake question, actually.
Yeah, you're talking Rockford, maybe Chicago markets?
Yeah, kind of right in between the two.
Getting into Crystal Lake. Okay, yeah, we can definitely do that. Let's go back to the future track here. We'll pull that up. We can adjust our map and can kind of get you more in that region there into northeast Illinois. This is absolutely later for you, looking at, oh, you know what?
Is this a gangbuster model?
That was let's go to the other one. Again, we're throwing that one in the trash. We're not using that one because it's not representative of what's going on right now very well. You know, you're waiting much, much later. This is like after 8 o'clock for northeast Illinois. And even then...
They're kind of right along Interstate 90 there, too.
Yeah. So. And by then, I think the severe threat is pretty much done.
Kaput.
Yeah. You're not going to have enough time to build enough storm energy to get any kind of appreciable severe weather that far north.
Yes.
Like the rest of our hometowns in the north.
Yes. Yeah. Anyone north. And also their temperatures are so much cooler. Not so much cooler, but cool enough where it's harder to produce those strong storms.
Yeah. Harder to get those going. Yep.
Is there going to be strong winds in Monmouth from the storms? From Tracy.
Yeah, that's the main threat today. Gusts up to 60 miles an hour today.
Yeah.
60. So strong. That can cause some damage.
Tree limbs, maybe.
Tree limbs. Some power outages. Isolated power outages for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially in Monmouth.
Yes.
They're going to be in the juicier.
Yeah, Monmouth, area. Galesburg, kind of Henderson counties.
Yeah. A little bit higher threat. There.
Higher threat. 2 out of 5 threat. That's actually all we have question-wise so far.
Very good. Well, I want to remind folks that we have 2 more live streams coming your way today. There'll be one at 2:30 this afternoon with Chief Meteorologist James Zahara. Another one at 8 o'clock this evening as well, if we're not already in coverage. And that'll be right here on the 8+ app. Probably be simulcasted on social media again, I bet.
I would assume.
As well. But we have a lot of time to kind of sort this out. We get another new model run coming up right around noon. So we'll see what that holds. Again, the new one I showed this morning, where we're just going to kind of throw that in the trash, and we'll see what happens with the next one that comes in. But definitely looks like, especially if you're south of the Quad Cities, you're going to have a potential to see some stronger wind gusts as we go into this evening.
Yes.
If the storms form a line, there is the potential for an isolated tornado. We're not really concerned about that threat today, especially given all the moisture that's present. It's a little bit harder to get that going, but it is a possibility, so I don't want to discount it completely.
No.
But we'll certainly keep you updated. We'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday morning here. I'll see you back for GMQC at 11. We'll see what the radar looks like and what to expect for the rest of the day. Have a great Tuesday, Quad Cities.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 8+ app everywhere you stream.